Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Shadow Paladin Witches standard deck profile for March 2021. With the release of Clan Selection Volume 1, I've wanted to update one of my favorite decks in the game, which are Shadow Paladins, with the newest support for one of what I thought was the most awesome decks during the Legion format, and that are the Shadow Paladin Witches with Fianna. It was a really awesome Legion. It was also definitely an expensive Legion at the time that just focused on making a bunch of your opponents' units grade zeros, then benefiting off of the fact that your opponent had a bunch of grade zeros on the field, also wasting their trigger units by making you search the deck. But this one focuses on a little different strategy, which I still think is a lot of fun to focus on with your other grade 2 unit in the deck, which is your Witch of Reality Femme. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the grade 3s, our main go-to grade 3 is Mesmerizing Witch, Fianna. On Vanguard Circle, once per turn, you can counterblast 1 and retire 2 rear guards to search your deck or hand. You basically search your hand or deck for up to 1 copy of Witch of Reality Femme. Call it to the front row rear, and if you searched your deck, shuffle your deck, and then the circle that you called it on becomes a Vanguard Circle until the end of turn. And then on Vanguard Circle, during your turn, all of your Vanguard gets plus 5,000 for each of your opponent's grade 0 rear guards. So still focusing on the grade 0 power search, but also kind of going off of the fact that you had Legion with Femme and Fianna at one point. So making it so the grade 2 on the rearguard circle also counts as a Vanguard circle is definitely quite scary for that fact. And just giving more and more power to the setup you can make with your Witch of Reality Femme on rearguard. So this is your main go-to grade 3 in the deck. So it's our main focus. As for the backup that we run in the deck of all the other Shadow Paladin units, I found Phantom Blaster Dragon just to be the most generic one to go into. So I'm running 2 copies of this also just as an added backup. You can run the Blaster Dark engine and then also just the additional surge power if need be for this card, but it's just the retire 3 for the plus 15 extra critical, and also the option for soul blasting a grade 3 to deal damage to your opponent. So if you need that extra push after, going into Fianna, this is a great backup for that reason alone. And you don't really need, rear guard backup grade 3s, because that's what a good amount of the grade 2s, especially our next one, focusing on the other rear guard circles. And then that is it for the grade 3s. Like I said, I run a really low grade 3 count just for the fact that you want to open up Fianna most of the time for your Vanguard ride target. For our grade 2s, our main grade 2 that we run in the deck is Witch of Reality Femme. On Vanguard Circle, once per turn, you can Soul Blast. Your opponent chooses 2 grade 0 unit cards from his or her drop zone and calls them to rear with grade 1 or greater units on them. If no cards were called, this unit gets drive +1 until end of turn. So it's on the Vanguard Circle, and the fact that this card counts as a Vanguard target, it would be able to give basically a twin drive with the boost that Fianna makes it. So the fact that this card on rearguard will be a Vanguard, and either your opponent will get some grade 0s on the field boosting your power of all your units, or the fact that this card will have twin drive when it attacks against your opponent, so giving you 4 drive checks in total for that turn attacking with your Vanguard, and then also this other additional Vanguard on your rearguard. That was funny for sure, just because it becomes a Vanguard till end of turn. But I thought, if it stays a Vanguard, will it basically mean your opponent can attack into this card and then it won't get destroyed? You'll just take a damage, obviously, avoiding the actual grade 3 Vanguard you have on the field. And as for some additional backup grade 2s, I run 4 Drag Wizard Leopold. There aren't as many witches actually in standard format for Shadow Paladins. I'd say there's a good majority more for other decks like Genesis and even probably Oracle Think Tank. But working with what we have for Drag Wizard Leopold, Vanguard or rear, when placed, counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1, call it to an open rear, and shuffle your deck. We do run a pretty good amount of grade 1s just as added backup support in the deck, so being able to rely on Leopold to search out those grade 1s definitely does come in handy, since there's no restriction for power plays with the grade 1s. It doesn't have to be a plus 5,000 power grade 1. It just has to be, any of them, being able to search it to an open rear guard and shuffle your deck. So you definitely want 4 of this card, since it also works on Vanguard or rear guard for those options. And then lastly, for the grade 2s, just the 2 additional Blaster Dark. There is a small play that I run in the deck to search out Phantom Blaster Dragon, along with having Blaster Dark on your Vanguard Circle, which, it can come up where you can use Femme or Leopold on your Vanguard Circle, but just having Blaster Dark as the last option for either a Vanguard or Rearguard call makes it good for retiring some of your opponent's units as well, just setting up more and more free space on their field for you to use for some of your other cards. And that is it for the grade 2s. Now moving on to the grade 1s, we did get a new grade 1 for the witches, and that is Coldblooded Witch Luba with this one. On rear, the ability costs is reduced by Counterblast 1 for each of your opponent's grade 0 rear guards. When placed, you Counterblast 2 and put a grade 2 or greater normal unit from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck, and you draw a card. So this is meant to help recycle your Witch of Reality Femme, which you can easily go through, whether through damage checks or just, opening this card up earlier in the game. And with Fianna being a once per turn, retire 2 rear guards, and then searching your deck, you want to have the Femmes available to use each turn with this card. So having your recycle power and just a little draw power as well, putting it on the bottom of the deck and drawing a card means you at least will put it on the bottom to avoid drawing into it with this card and giving you options for more and more cards you want to search out with it. So you definitely want to run 4. It's also a search target with Drag Wizard Leopold, giving you just more and more searchability since it's just a counterblast for when placed. So very, very easy to make use of. And then with more grade 0 setup against your opponent, it could be a free call cost for that play. And also being a witch, which I actually forgot until I actually was putting the deck together. But for Skull Witch Domain, it just passes me by that the fact that this card has Witch in its name. On rearguard circle, you rest this unit, search your deck for up to 1 5,000 power card, call it to an open rearguard, shuffle your deck, and the ability can only be used by a card with this name once a turn. So with it, you have the option for not searching out Luba since it is an 8,000 power card, but the good majority of the other grade 1s that I am running in the deck are 5,000 power. So very, very easy to make use of this card's search power, and just being more of the witch based play, very, very useful for more rear guards to search out on the field, since you do need to retire cards to use Fianna as well when you summon it on your Vanguard circle, and then the once per turn retire. And then for the additional plus 5,000 units, I also run 4 Abyssal Owl. It's just draw power on Vanguard or rear. If you or your opponent's Vanguard have the same grade, this ability's cost may be paid with a Soul Blast, and when placed, Counterblast 1 to draw cards. So either the Soul Blast or the Counterblast, you name it. This card's just great for that setup of draw power, and for the fact that you can call it out with Domain. You're basically calling out a unit with using Domain, getting this draw, and then having the 2 cards needed for basically retiring for Fianna without even having to rely on actually calling out any units. You basically got the draw power for free and having the additional Fianna with Domain on the field for those units. And then for some of the lower numbers in the deck, I also run 2 Accomplishing Knight default. With this one, they basically, when placed on rearguard by your card's ability, Soul Charge 1. This ability will only be used by a card of the same name once a turn. So the Soul Charge basically comes into play for Witch of Reality Femme being able to be a Soul Blast. So as long as you have the Soul to build, if you don't ride into your Fianna as often, you at least want to have some resources to go into the Soul Charge by using this card. And it's great because it's a 5,000 power card, so it can easily be called with Domain as well. For some of the other grade 1 units, I also run 2 Blackwing Swordbreaker. When placed, Counterblast 1, draw a card. If it was placed from the hand, it gets plus 5,000. Just an additional draw card if you don't have the Abyssal Owls to go into. It's just another good backup resource to use with Domain. And then lastly, I run the 1 Freezing Witch Bendy. It is a witch, which I think is very funny. More focusing on the Phantom Blaster Dragon play, but if you do open up Blaster Dark on your Vanguard circle, you do have the option to easily call out this card if you have Domain, which we're running 4 of. So easy search there, and then just being able to do that much quickly. Get Phantom Blaster Dragon on your Vanguard circle, giving you the additional force markers. What I like to use with this, it negates the abilities of it, since you can't use the act abilities, but you can still gain your Imaginary Gift Force 2 circle, and then next turn afterwards, ride into Fianna and set up another Force 2 Imaginary Gift marker on your other Vanguard circle, which will be Witch of Reality Femme's Vanguard circle, having the additional critical for both cards on the field. And that is it for the grade 1s. For our starter, we're going with Full Bow. We just don't have any other, witch starters in the deck. So sticking with the original one, just my preference of choice there, having the Quick Shield and Draw Power. And for the trigger lineup, I just decided to stick with the 8 criticals. So the 4 Darkside Trumpeter and the 4 Grim Avenger, just great pressure, along with having 2 Vanguard circles. You can quickly go through your draft checks. So being able to rely on these cards for that pressure, very, very useful. And just for draw power and basically guaranteed shielding against my opponent, still running the 4 Darkshield MacLear. Once again, just my preference. If you want to try the critical one, it's great for the 4 draft checks, but still, I like the guaranteed guard against a good number of my opponent's attacks. And lastly, the 4 Abyss Healer. It's one of the older heals. I felt like the newest heal is more for the Drag Wizard deck and not more of the Witches or the Blaster Dark. So I felt this heal is definitely more fitting for the Witch Fianna. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm really having a lot of fun building these clan selection decks. It's just that much easier because the support was very easy to pull, and also it's very affordable for people looking to build these decks with standard format coming to an end. Just a good way to enjoy some of the nostalgia from these decks, like I said before, and I hope you all feel the same way when building them. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.